Welcome to live coverage of GP Pittsburgh. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to our quarterfinals here. We're kicking things off with Jack Kiefer on White Blue Godfarrow's Gift, and he's facing off against Zach Allen on Esper Control, the classic Zach versus Jack matchup. You're in the booth with me. My name's Riley Knight, and I'm joined by the world #1 player currently out in front of the Player of the Year race. It is Reed Duke. Reed, thanks so much for joining us today. White Blue versus Esper in this situation. I mean, is there a clear front runner here? This is not a deck we've seen for a long time on the left-hand side of the screen.
This is going to be a really tricky, challenging matchup. Now, the advantage of the Esper Control deck is that if everything lines up properly, Esper Control has all the weapons it needs. It's got a little more... it's got more meat on the bones. It's got more counter spells, more card drawing, and in the super long game, this matchup's going to favor the pure control deck. On the other side of the battlefield, the advantage of the White Blue Godfarrow's Gift is the ability to win at the drop of a dime at a moment's notice, which makes it really, really challenging for Zach Allen to navigate, because one wrong move and boom, you could be done. This game, of course, shaping up not so well for the control player, stuck on one land.
Bit of a loosey-goosey keep from Zachary Allen. There may have been a mulligan involved here, Reed, but he was on the old one-land arena. And yeah, with the fact that he hasn't gone to discard, looks like he's had to take a mulligan or two here. And this is just about over. I mean, Jack Kiefer is enacting his game plan, and Zach Allen is playing an untapped Drowned Catacomb and doing stone cold nothing. So discarding a Sun Scourge champion to get a 4/4 into play here is Kiefer. And, we can basically go to game number 2 here.
Yeah, I mean, think of it, Riley. This is Jack Kiefer's piloting a really, really fast and powerful combo deck, but gets a mana-screwed opponent just putting a 4/4 into play. I mean, hey, why not just take the simple route?
Yep, just kick it old school here as we see Zachary Allen finally find that second land. I mean, but it's not. This would be one of the most miraculous comebacks in the history of the game, I have to say, if Allen can stitch something together here. And I think, look, Kiefer's looking to put him out of his misery as quickly as possible. Another Sun Scourge champion discarding a Godfarrow's Gift. We're going to get another 4/4. Kiefer up to 28. And this youngster, I tell you what, he's turning some heads at the top of the pro scene, because this guy, 16 years of age, he plays ferociously well with these two brothers. The Kiefer clan is out and about at a lot of these top-level events, and big things expected from this fella in coming weeks and months.
Definitely nice to see a breakout performance from him, and nice to see his top 8 off to a good start here, too. He really is putting Zach Allen in a tough spot, because he's got the ground army, and he's presenting Godfarrow's Gift, so Zach Allen now has to spend his mana answering the gift and take a hit for 9.
Yeah, this is a big hit here for Kiefer. Kiefer, the first of the Kiefer brothers to finally make it through to that GP top 8, a big moment for him.
Representing the whole clan, then. Everyone can root for him on behalf of the whole family.
And certainly things going the way of young Kiefer in this situation, because, as we say, Allen having to play from behind, which is not always an easy spot, especially when you're playing a slower control deck, but really hasn't come together for him. Angel of Invention is going to pump up the team, and actually that's going to be enough. Whoop, no, okay, disallow from Allen here. But all the same, riding well and truly on the wall here for Allen. Reed, I'm sure people around the world will be very happy to see a standard tournament at which we don't have 20+ copies of Goblin Chain Whirler. This has been, I think, pretty reflective of the metagame that we've seen. We've got 3 Chain Whirler decks, 3 blue-based control decks, a couple of other ones on the outer as well. But the format is much, I guess, more slowly than we'd like, but it seems to be self-correcting to some degree, at least today.
Well, I guess the lesson for me is you want to be on one extreme or the other. The most telling thing is that no green decks made it into the top 8 here, and the only real representation of mid-range, even though if you recall from our metagame breakdown, mid-range was a pretty sizable portion of the pie chart. It's just Oliver, too, with his blue-black mid-range deck. No green-black, no Steel Leaf Stompy, no white-green, just one lone mid-range deck in a field of mostly red, mostly control, and Jack Kiefer's White Blue Godfarrow Gift deck.
And that Godfarrow's Gift deck has been good enough now to get him through to game number 2. And look at that, a smile on the face of Zach Allen. Good to see that he can laugh about it, because, yeah, that's just, that's just the beats. That's just, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and you can't let that overtake you. But look at this, all business, Jack Kiefer. He's not mucking around. So now you'll see the players here, Reed, they're examining the deck list of their opponents, and this is something that that happens in the top 8 of any Premier level Magic tournament, just to give them an even playing field and know what they're up against.
That's going to be particularly important in this matchup, both because Jack Kiefer is sort of playing an off-the-beaten-path strategy, but also because you can expect these games to go long and really be about lining up your cards against the opponent's cards, preparing to, face down your opponent's entire deck if the game shapes up that way, particularly with Jack Kiefer milling a lot of cards into his graveyard, the knowledge of, okay, he's got this many counterspells left, he's got this many refurbishes, these are the creatures that I'm going to have to fight through. That's something that Zach can use to his advantage, and similarly, Kiefer can know exactly what he's got to fight through.
Interesting little tidbit about Zach Allen's performance so far at GP Pittsburgh. Reed, he is actually undefeated. Unfortunately for him, not 15-0. That didn't quite pull off the dream run, but 11-0-4. Now, playing Esper Control, obviously you're going to pick up a draw here or there. Oh, you're more likely to at least. But 4 draws and a top 8 performance.
That's a very silly record to have at the end of a tournament. 11-0-4.
11-0-4. So I mean, obviously he just dived into that draw bracket. He's like, yeah, get at me. Yep.
The first 2 draws were unintentional, but then when he found himself at 11-0-2, he said, you know what? Instead of playing it out and leaving it to chance, I'm just going to take the final 2 draws and guarantee myself a spot right in the middle of the top 8, 5th place.
And he's done, yes, exactly that. Found himself into 5th place and down a game, unfortunately for him, against Jack Kiefer on White-Blue Godfarrow's Gift. Let's have a chat about this deck for a while because it's something that's been highlighted recently on various sort of media outlets that write about Magic. And this deck, it just hasn't changed at all. Like, we've got Search for Azcanta from the Rivals block, or from the Ixalan block. We've got Glacial Fortress. But aside from that, there are Stone Cold 0 cards from Dominaria, right?
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes you see Lyra Dawnbringer in either the main deck or the sideboard, but for Jack Kiefer, no. He's got no Dominaria cards anywhere.
Nope. It's just the Search for Azcanta, the Glacial Fortress. And as you can see on your screen there, ladies and gentlemen, he really, with this deck generally just doesn't need, I mean, Ixalan's Binding, the other one, just doesn't need any of these new cards. And so I guess this is your opportunity to play this deck. In 3 months, it just will not exist.
Yeah, it's true. It really is very dependent on the stuff from Amonkhet block.
But very explosive, very powerful, and capable of draws that really are very, very difficult to answer. Putting a Godfarrow's Gift into the bin with something like a Minister of Inquiries, a Champion of Wits, a Charter Course, and then immediately refurbishing it on turn 4, and if you've got an Angel of Invention to bring back, I mean, there are a lot of decks in the format that don't find that a huge hill to overcome, a huge mountain to climb there.
Definitely. There's a lot to like about Blue-White Godfarrow's Gift. This is a deck that can really do amazingly powerful things once it hits 7 mana in particular. You can hardcast Godfarrow's Gift. You're going to start eternalizing Champion of Wits. You can activate your Azcanta. You still have access to Fumigate and Settle the Wreckage, which are these single cards that just completely decimate opposing creature strategies. But unlike the control decks, which we've seen have a hard time over the course of the weekend, struggling, a lot of mentally taxing long matches, you're going to get a free win here and there with that quick refurbish draw. So you really get the best of both worlds in terms of being fast and powerful sometimes, but knowing that you have a strong opportunity to win if the game drags on indefinitely.
Let's look at what he's up against here with Zach Allen on Esper Control. We've seen blue decks of various stripes read throughout the weekend, many of them leaning pretty heavily on Teferi, the hero of Dominaria, but Allen has taken a slightly different route here because he's opted to lean instead very, very heavily, I would say, on Vraska's Contempt, and Torrential Gearhulk in this deck is so much better than in straight blue-white.
I would agree with that. One of the really cool things about our top 8 here is that we have 3 different control decks, but very, very different takes. A plain white-blue, a plain blue-black, and then Zach Allen here with Esper. This, I guess, is mostly blue and black, splashing for Teferi and a couple of Forsake the Worldlies. But yeah, this one, instead of playing the creatureless version, making the opponent's removal dead, it's leveraging Torrential Gearhulk and the Scarab God, which we know how powerful those cards are. You untap with the Scarab God, you're going to win. Particularly, we might see it shine in this matchup against the graveyard-based Godfarrow's Gift deck.
One thing I really don't like about Torrential Gearhulk in the current format is the role that it plays, or rather the role that it doesn't play in white-blue control. Because we're looking at Seal Away, we're looking at Cast Out, we're looking at Syncopate, and even Blink of an Eye as some of the really important instant speed interaction which the white-blue deck brings to bear. And Torrential Gearhulk is just a real stinker with all of those cards.
Yeah, you most often just see it out of the sideboard of the blue-white decks, but you're right, it's not the same as when you have Glimmer of Genius and Vraska's Contempt, which Zach Allen has both of those cards. Those are probably the two strongest instants to flashback with Torrential Gearhulk available in Standard.
I really like it. I really like it. There was, there was something you said earlier in the tournament, Reed, about players coming here, these blue-black based players coming here and wanting to cast as many copies of Vraska's Contempt as possible. And I think the card has come full circle. For me, many months ago, it was the be-all and end-all answer in Standard. It got rid of Hazoret, it got rid of everything that you wanted to point it at. And now we're seeing it in a position where it's a fantastic answer to essentially every problem that especially the red decks can throw at you. Allen now opening up with a Swamp. Back to Kiefer. We'll see what his opening turns have to say. No Minister of Inquiries from him. But Allen now looking to, play more than one land on by turn 2 or 3 here. And Charter Course now for Jack Kiefer. Draw 2, discard 1. And the discarding in this deck, not so much of a downside, Read.
No, often upside, actually. So we're going to see Kiefer spend his early turns filling his graveyard, smoothing his draw, preparing to fight later on, and we're going to see Zach Allen focus on hitting his land drops, and holy cow, what is that one?
He has brought in Dynavolt Tower. We saw a couple of them in the sideboard. Now this one is, I mean, it's an engine. It's an engine, make no mistake about it. Really good with cards like Glimmer of Genius, but just rewards you for playing that natural instant and sorcery game plan you're looking to anywhere. I'm surprised to see it in this matchup. I mean, flinging lightning bolts around doesn't seem fantastic in the face of hasty 4/4s.
It is a fascinating choice. This God Pharaoh's Gift deck is very multi-dimensional, and from Zach Allen's perspective, he's going to have elements of a control mirror. He's going to have elements of control versus combo, but still, there's a lot of creatures in the God Pharaoh's Gift deck, and if you go too far sideboarding in any one direction or the other, you could just get got by a hard-cast Angel of Invention or some Champion of Wits ticking away at you. So maybe Dynavolt Tower is a concession to, okay, I'm going to play a card like Dynavolt Tower to answer the little weenie creatures, and then I can devote most of the rest of my deck to fighting you in the long game. Just something like insurance against the cheap creatures, the Minister of Inquiries that Jack Kiefer might put into play.
Kiefer puts a Refurbish on the stack. It's up to Allen now to respond. He's taking his time with it. I certainly hope he has an answer for his sake. Looks like he may have selected one, and yes, it's going to be a disallow. And so 2 energy gained from the Dynavolt Tower. But yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe the Dynavolt Tower is going to do some of the, well, not the heavy lifting, but the light lifting against the Minister of Inquiries. As you say, maybe the Sun Scourge Champions, Champion of Witch, whatever, keep the board nice and clear, leaving the more robust and resilient answers to get rid of bigger creatures later on. Here's Search for Azcanta. Allen unable to find that 5th land, but he's still in fighting shape here.
Yeah, the search sets him up nicely if he can survive this turn, which might be a big if with Refurbish on the stack here, but nope, he has Negate. So this is pretty perfect because now Zach Allen can use Search for Azcanta to help him hit his land drop, set up for the long game, and if he can just keep his mana untapped and not leave himself vulnerable, he is on track to win.
I love the optimism from Zach Allen reaching for that D12 as he goes to 4 energy. Didn't need it, but he's just saying, hey, this is how much energy I'm going to need, boy. You're gonna have to watch out for this one, my friend.
Wow, and look at that, Riley. He scries to the top where he, doesn't bin his card with Search for Azcanta, draws it, and doesn't hit his land drop. So it must be something pretty strong, something that he feels he needs.
And he's found a Vraska's Contempt here for the Champion of Wits, and Negate in hand as well for Allen. So yeah, he's a man on a budget, huh? Really making scrimping and saving because prioritizing, well, non-land cards off the top of the deck rather than continuing to develop his mana.
And you see him really going out of his way to hit Champion of Wits with a Vraska's Contempt. I think some players might have been tempted, oh, okay, I'll just take down the 2-1 with my Dynavolt Tower. I've got the energy banked anyway. But Zach Allen correctly identifying that one of Kiefer's advantages in this matchup is that he's going to hit 7 lands and find a graveyard stacked full of Eternalize and Embalm creatures. But preemptively hitting that champion with Vraska's Contempt is going to take a little bit of the wind out of Jack Kiefer's sails later on.
I am fascinated by this line. He's just doubled down. He's looked at another card. He's left it on top, and it proved not to be a land. So Alan is a man with a plan here, Reed. I don't know. I mean, in the abstract, I don't agree with this. You need to hit your land drops if you're a control player, but he has a very clear idea of what he's trying to do in this matchup. Finds that 5th land. What do you think of that, though? That's a super unorthodox line to take.
Yeah, I mean, it's all context dependent. It depends what he has in his hand, what he feels he needs. I'm sure he's not happy to be hitting his land drops, but his priority is just making sure he has the answers for the I win cards of Jack Kiefer. Kiefer's already put him to the test with 2 refurbishes, and he doesn't want to be unprepared for a 3rd. Search
for Azcanta. Looks like it's going to come into play now. Alan finds something on the top of his deck that he likes. Might have been that 6th land here, that Drowned Catacomb. One would think so. Kiefer does have the option, obviously, of flipping that Search for Azcanta. No problem getting cards into the graveyard here.
Right. Kiefer's Search for Azcanta late to the party compared to Zach Allen's, but it's a lot more powerful as well because of all the self-mill that Jack was doing in the early turns.
Sends out Lewis and Clark, and they get back a lot faster here to old TJ's. Well, they get back to Monticello like, yeah, we found it before the other guys. Don't even worry about it. It's easy. Easy game. Flip that Search, and beneath the waves, the Sunken Ruin. And that's going to mean that it's going to be pretty hard for Kiefer to run out of action here. He does play a lot more creatures, but his non-land, non-creature spells are going to be huge. You know, we're talking about Refurbished, we're talking about Godfarrow's Gift, all of which can be hard cast. Here's Nixalan's Binding. What are we going after with this one, Reed?
So he's really looking to win the Search for Azcanta battle. He tried his hand on the refurbishes early in the game, but now he identifies that they're settling in for the long game, and if he can have an Azcanta and the opponent cannot, that's going to be that long-term advantage that he needs.
Also cutting Alan off from playing a second one. If indeed he has one, I can see he's got 2 in the main.
So Zach Allen binned a Forsake the Worldly earlier with his Azcanta, now trying a Torrential Gearhulk, but Kiefer prepared with the answer, not a negate, but a Jace's Defeat, which is super powerful in both fighting those counterspell battles and taking out Torrential Gearhulk and the Scarab God.
Really important card, and something that fights for sideboard space with Negate. Negate, a card that I love so much in this format currently, but isn't able to deal with Torrential Gearhulk, isn't able to deal with the Scarab God. Jace's Defeat gets rid of both, no worries. But here we see also Negate to combat this Teferi, and Kiefer here is just on a roll. Untaps, slams the Godfarrow's Gift. He has picked his moment, and I tell you what, he's being rewarded for it here, Reed.
Yeah, what a sequence from Jack Kiefer. He transforms his Azcanta, he gets rid of his opponents, he counters the 2 key spells on Zach Allen's side, and now, boom, the dust settles, and he follows up with Godfarrow's Gift to potentially put himself in a highly advantageous position.
That's how it's looking to me right now. I mean, there's any number of cards that Alan could have to get himself back into this, but I love the timing from Kiefer. You know, holding back, playing that reactive game, negate Jace's Defeat, finding the time, picking his moment, really. And that opportune moment was upon him as he slammed the GPG into play, opened up that present. What's inside? It's a 4/4 Flying Haze, Lifelink Vigilance, First Strike Banding. And Alan now on the back foot, for sure.
And you forecasted it earlier, Riley, the Dynavolt Tower just completely ineffectual against the 4/4 Flying.
It's really not doing too much on this board. I mean, it can take out a servo, it can go upstairs for 3, but none of this is looking very good. I mean, Reed, often in the booth will use the word interesting as a sort of diplomatic synonym for questionable, and even that's a diplomatic synonym there for bad. And for me, well, this Dynavolt Tower was an interesting sideboard option. Second Angel of Invention. Reed refusing to rise to the bait here. He will not say anything nasty about anyone else ever. And a big attack as well. Of course, that Second Angel having haste, and Alan, he has to have something to stop this onslaught. The best he can muster is a cast down here.
A temporary measure at best. He really has to get rid of that Godfarrow's Gift.
And of course, the Angel exiled as it just was a token. It was already exiled, and away goes one of the tokens thanks to that Dynavolt Tower. But yes, as you say, still an Angel of Invention alive and kicking, Reed, and it's still, well, most of the kicking is being applied to Zach Allen's life total. He's down to 12.
Zach has a lot to fight through here. He needs to first answer the God Pharaoh's gift, then answer the Azcanta, potentially with a Field of Ruin. And even then, Jack Kiefer's packing a Negate in hand. He just drew 2 off of Chart a Course.
It's all coming up Kiefer right here and right now. As he has a quick look through the graveyard. Has he got other creatures to put into play? I didn't have a good look at what he was cooking with there. Oh, another refurbish. So he's obviously got something to do here, something to say about this. Of course, that Angel of Invention still with an onboard Lord effect here. And Allen, hard pressed to find an answer. What's he got? Another copy of Negate. Yep, there it is. So Kiefer baits out that Negate and shifts it back to Allen. What can he find here? What is Allen looking for? What's the best draw for him right now?
Well, forsake the worldly, another Torrential Gear Hulk. He's got to get God Pharaoh's gift off the battlefield. Doesn't have much way to attack his opponent's graveyard. The Scarab God would be good, but a bit slow. It's going to take a sequence of good draws here, and maybe as slow as it is, this is the way it has to start, with Glimmer of Genius finding him multiple answer cards.
So Glimmer of Genius is step 1 here. Scry 2, draw 2, gain 2 energy. So Allen with the opportunity to look at up to 4 cards here, which at this stage is close to 10% of his library. So he's got a good shot at finding what he needs. I mean, at least to get this, gain a bit of traction in this game and indeed this match, because if Kiefer wins from here on out, he's in the semis, no questions asked. That's just the way that it goes there.
While Zach Allen ponders his Glimmer of Genius, we have a few updates for you.
Yes, indeed. On our back tables, we can confirm that we've got, unfortunately for fans of Paul Dean, he's gone down. His opponent beating him 2 games to zip. And in the Matthews versus Tew, we're going to game number 3. They're tied up at 1-1, Reed.
So Brom Thomas advancing with mono red past Paul Dean's red-black deck, and then the 1-1 match is Oliver Tew's blue-black mid-range against Scott Matthews' blue-black control.
So our semi's already shaping up here, but on the front table, of course, Jack Kiefer, Zach Allen. Jack and Zach, back-to-back. Actually, technically facing each other. It would be very difficult to play a match of Magic against someone with your back to them, I would say. And now, Allen finds a Vraska's... Oh, but snaps off the Negate. Doesn't even have time to put it on the table here. And Kiefer at the ready to respond.
Yeah, so with any creature remaining in the graveyard, Kiefer has a lethal attack here. The 2 servos, even with 1 dying. Wow, that's the handshake.
But enough there for Zach Allen to pack it up once and for all. And congratulations to Jack Kiefer. Commiserations to his foe there, Zach Allen. But congratulations all the same for making it all the way to the top 8. Jack Kiefer is in the semifinals of GP Pittsburgh. It's a big moment for him, a big moment for his family, Reed. And I bet they'll be very happy to have made the trip out to Pennsylvania to get it done here.
Fantastic.
We move over now to one of our back tables, Morgan McLauglin and Mike Siegrist. I tell you what, a tough day in the office for Siggy. He has had a more than 1 marathon matches throughout this tournament. But with his white-blue control deck, hey, he knows what he signed up for.
Yeah, I'm impressed, actually. This is the first time he's finished a single game in about 6 hours.
We did it! We did it! Reed Duke said something mildly nasty about someone, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first. So Siggy there with a live Teferi Hero of Dominaria. He looks to be in a great spot. I mean, just, at first blush, he's facing off against an empty battlefield. Just the way. He likes it.
Yeah, if you look at the battlefield, he's looking great. Just don't let your eyes drift up to that 3 next to his name. He's at a very precarious life total, threading the needle here against black-red aggro. But he does look to have stabilized. So if he can hang in there with Teferi, maybe find a counterspell, he could be on track to getting to Game 3.
Read a number of people are questioning the influence I'm having on you, my friend, in the booth, turning into a nasty boy. I tell you what, my corrupting tendrils will continue to their good work. I'll do my very best. Here's Teferi going upstairs once again. Siegrist with 500,000 lands in play. And McLauglin in this situation, I mean, the thing is, Siegrist on 3, so there are live draws for McLauglin on a technical level, but you'd have to think that Siegrist is holding answers. He's a glory bringer now.
Let's find out if he is.
Okay, Siegrist put to the test. Can Morgan... Oh my goodness, he has nothing! Stone cold nothing, even after activating Teferi 500,000 times. And Mike Siegrist once again falls victim to the top deck glory bringer. I love it from Morgan McLauglin, just testing the waters. And poor old Siggy goes out on the in the jaws of a massive dragon.
Yeah, it seems he was just moments away, just almost there in terms of stabilizing the game, but couldn't quite find an answer and cover all his bases. He had negate if it had been a something like a lightning strike coming after him, but the glory bringer just gets the job done, as it has so many times in this standard format.
Brings glory once again, and Morgan McLauglin makes it all the way through to the semi-finals. Congratulations, however, to Mike Siegrist, of course. Not his first GP top 8, and certainly won't be his last. A towering figure in the world of professional Magic, and well, heartfelt congratulations to him for making it so far. Hey, he's off to the Pro Tour again.
Yeah.
As indeed are all of our top 8 competitors. Siegrist probably qualified through other means, if we're going to be honest, but all the same. We move on back now to our final match between Scott Matthews and Oliver Tew. Oliver Tew having won game number 1. I did update everyone earlier and say that we were in game number 3, but that doesn't look to be the case here. We will get confirmation of that, however, and make sure that game score is accurate there. Being told, getting thumbs up, yep, so it is indeed 1-0 to Oliver Tew. Interesting matchup between these two decks. They're both fighting on a similar angle read, but obviously the mid-range control paradigm mixing things up a little bit. Who do you favour in the abstract between the creature-based mid-range and the more reactive control list?
Well, geez, I would have predicted Scott Matthews to have a small advantage in game 1 before going to sideboarding, where maybe Oliver Tew has a small advantage. But it actually turns out that Oliver was the winner of game number 1, and the two decks really converge a lot after sideboarding. They have access to a lot of the same cards: Duress, Negate, Argyll's Bloodfast. But, you know, the multi-dimensional nature of Oliver Tew's version, where Scott Matthews has to be prepared for everything from a turn 2 Glint Sleeve Siphoner all the way to the later game Torrential Gearhulks and Scarab Gods. That makes it a little more challenging from his perspective. And definitely with Oliver already being up a game and having pretty favorable board state, I think he's well on track to winning this match.
Argyll's Bloodfast is a card that has impressed both you and me this weekend, Reed. It's been a huge engine, and surprisingly for me at least, the other side of it, Temple of Aclazots, has actually got more than one player out of a couple of sticky situations, sacrificing creatures for fun and profit. We've seen Oliver Tew, in fact, one of those players who saved a game based on the fact that he was sacrificing creatures to gain life.
Absolutely. It does lend itself to really incredible nail-biter type comebacks.
Right now, however, I'm sure Tew just happy for ways to draw extra cards. Here's Commit to Memory. It's going to be a permanent answer to that Eternalized Champion. Bounce spells obviously very good against tokens of all kinds, and Commit to Memory is no different. Here is the memory half of Commit to Memory.
Hello.
Not the first time we've seen this one played this weekend. I mean, let's talk about the natural weakness of playing a 6-mana Time Twister here.
Well, there's two natural weaknesses. The first is that you have to tap out to cast memory, and your opponent, in this case Oliver Tew, is going to be the first one to untap with all their mana available. The second, in this particular case, is that Scott Matthews is already behind on the board. He's facing down Argyll's Bloodfast, so he can't even really cross his fingers and hope that Oliver gets an unlucky 7 cards, because if he does, now he just has 9 mana to start sinking into the Bloodfast, and he's going to find something to punish you with. So, you know, a little bit of a desperation move. Certainly either player can win from this position, but somewhat heavy advantage bar to Oliver, too.
And I love this play as well. A really, really good play from Oliver Chu. Immediately after his opponent has drawn a fresh 7, Chu is like, right, I'm just going to strip the best card that you've got. I'm going to take away the very best toy that you've just picked up from the toy shop there. And Doomfall is going to be a nice, clean answer to any one of those 4 non-land cards. Reed, my eyes immediately go towards the Scarab God. Are you of one mind here?
Yeah, well, equally important to stripping away the best card is the game effectively just restarted, and now Oliver is going to play a card to see his opponent's hand, give him a lot of control over the game, and he's going to craft a game plan. He's going to look at his own hand, the way it matches up against the opponent's stuff, and he's going to think about how do I need to navigate this to lead myself to victory? How do I need to line up my answers against my opponent's threats? When do I need to leave mana open? What do I need to do to actually sneak a threat through the cracks? And yeah, the ability to see the opponent's hand in a fresh, unknown situation like this is just so powerful.
Another Doomfall as well. I love this. And Glimmer of Genius hits the exile zone. And so Matthews having his hand torn to shreds here. But it looks like the Scarab God has survived the onslaught, at least. So Chu taking a different tack. May have a Vraska's Contempt at the ready for the card. Looks like he's got, in fact, yes, 2 of them. So he ain't mind. He ain't bothered by that one there. 3 more mana. We got a 3rd Doomfall? No, it's going to be a Champion of Wits. So here we see the pitfall behind casting a card like Memory, because your opponent often is the one who gets the first chance to unload that fresh grip and be the one to sort of dictate the terms of play from that point onwards. So Chu, draw 2, discard 2, and he's just going to dump some lands. Back to Matthews now. He did have that fresh grip, which Chu has sort of popped his snoot into. And a Torrential Gearhulk off the top now for Matthews.
That's a really nice pickup, because you saw how Oliver went out of his way to strip away that Glimmer of Genius. And now Matthews gets to cast the Glimmer of Genius. Well, actually, no. Exiled from Doomfall. Had it been a Duress, I would say that's a nice sequence. But yeah, those 2 cards, that actually represents Scott Matthews' fresh exile zone.
Yeah, it's an oddly placed exile zone to be sure, Reed. But that's one of the perks of Doomfall, right? Exiling cards in this format is surprisingly relevant.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of the time. Here's the Scarab God now for Oliver Chu. So he's really turning the screws on Matthews. And Matthews looking at his graveyard being like, oh yeah, I emptied it to that memory. Oops. So what's the move for Matthews? He can commit a 5/6 to the board, but it's not going to do too much. I mean, I guess it blocks the 5/5 Scarab God, but an Ipnu Rivulet.
That's a suspect play.
Not exactly sure what Matthews is trying to accomplish.
He wants to transform his Search for Escanta. He wants to find some action for his Torrential Gearhulk, but this is playing with fire against an active Scarab God. What if he mills his own Gearhulk? And then Oliver 2 is able to reanimate it.
Yeah, just handing weapons to the enemy there. And a commit to memory as well is going to make it harder and harder for Scott Matthews to get some kind of gainful advantage off of his search, because it's tucked away. Finds a land off the top. Looked like a Fetid Pools to me, in addition to that swamp. And again, the Scarab God's still in hand for Matthews. But not exactly where he wants to be, because Chu firing on all cylinders right now, it has to be said. Argwell's Bloodfast live, although he is tapped out right now. And Oliver Chu, another. I mean, I don't even call him an up-and-coming player. He certainly was, but he has upped and comed, and now he is well and truly entrenched himself in the pro scene. Well, not only across North America, but across the world.
Yeah, most definitely.
Former Rookie of the Year, Constructed Master at one point as well, I understand, and right now showing us exactly how he can get it done. And with a full grip, he looks to be in the driver's seat in this position right now. So,
Scott Matthews hanging on by a thread here. You saw the sequence where Oliver got to double Doomfall, conspicuously left Matthews with the Scarab God, and then Matthews decided not to deploy it into the face of, I guess what we can perceive as a somewhat obvious Vraska's Contempt. Here, instead, he's prioritizing transforming his Azcanta, really looking for Vraska's Contempt to start answering the opponent's stuff, buffer his life total. That's exactly what he needs here, but he hasn't found it yet.
Field of Ruin the play now for Matthews. He does have that active flip land going. So he's able to put that one together here, but Chu, I mean, just an overwhelming board presence, and with Matthews on 7, facing some pretty dire straights here. So let's see. Chu looking to put this one, put this one to bed really as swiftly as he can. Matthews still holding that torrential gear hulk. He's got a graveyard now. At least he can do some stuff with it. He's got a couple of disallows and an essence scatter, but they don't fix the problems he's facing with what's going on board. Chu going to activate that Field of Ruin, and torrential gear hulk's going to solve the problem here by disallowing that Field of Ruin activation. Nice little use of that card there. We don't often see that.
Yeah, but it's a dangerous situation if Oliver 2 has something like a cast down to put that Torrential Gearhulk into the graveyard. Then he's got some real fodder to work with for his Scarab God. And
now, Vraska's Contempt targeting that Torrential Gearhulk. Matthews happy enough to disallow it, but it looks like Chu's going to initiate a fight over it, and it's actually going to be enough to win him this game and indeed the match. So Oliver Chu, our final semi-finalist here, and I mean, he's got to be happy with that. He played extremely well, and that commit to memory was ultimately, it favoured him more than it favoured his opponent. Desperation move from his opponent, but unfortunately for him, not quite enough. So Reed, well, things are shaping up pretty interestingly now for our semi-finals. We've got some blue-black, we've got some Godfarer's Gift, and we're going to see what other treats are in store for the semis here.
Right, so we're setting you up for... let's take a look at the bracket. We have Bram Thomas with Mono Red taking on Jack Kiefer, Blue-White Godpharaoh's Gift. That's going to really put the Blue-White deck to the test. That's not one where you're playing for the long game. You really want to have the quick refurbish or a timely fumigate if you're going to survive against the aggression of Mono Red. Another side of the bracket, it's Oliver 2 with Blue-Black Midrange against Morgan McLauglin carrying the flag for Goblin Chain Whirler on that side of the bracket. He's Red-Black.
So we'll see how things shake out, of course. After this, my friends, we are going to go to a break. But after that, of course, we will...